down posts. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. Throwing out crystals. We don't need these stones. And we ain't no gods. That's a job for y'all. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Yahuwah. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Yah Israel. Tearing down idols, we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals, yeah. We don't need these stones. We ain't no gods. That's a job for y'all, yeah. Oh, all praise. What we say? All praise. Hey, all praise. Sing it again, all praise. Let's lift up a praise to Yah, yeah. All praise. Listen, we won't go the way of the pagan. We don't need no potions or sages. We won't let your word be forsaken. Even if we're hated,
We won't go the way of the pagans.
we don't need no
We don't need no potions or sages.
we won't let your
We
word.
won't let your word be
No,
forsaken.
even
Even if we're
if we won't go the way. We don't need no potions or saviors. We won't let your word be forsaken. Even if we're tearing down idols and we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals. We don't need these stones. And we ain't no gods. That's a job for y'all. Everybody help me say all praise.
all praise to the Most High.
I can't hear you say.
All praise to the Most High.
All praise
To the Most High.
hey, all praise.
All praise to the Yah of Israel.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. I love that song. I saw the comments in the chat. Hallelujah. Yes, even if we're hated. You know what? I saw that comment. I was like, you know what? That's like the perfect title for this, for this lesson tonight. Even if we are hated. Hallelujah. Well, hey family. Hey, thanks for everyone for hopping on here late Saturday night after Shabbat. So hopefully you had a great evening with your family and friends and your family mishpachah. So hopefully you were able to eat and relax and all that good stuff on Shabbat. So welcome. All right. Well, let me tell you, family, we have a lot to talk about today, and this is kind of why I upped the time of this video. Just kind of wanted to make sure that we were able to cover all the bases and not finish late. So so let's jump right on into it. Oh, always forget this when I start these lives. So first of all, welcome to everyone that's in the chat. Big shout out to Sister Ema Cassandra. So hopefully everyone's doing well in your family. Hopefully everybody's doing well in the chat. Feel free to press the likes, the thumbs up, as well as like and share, do all that good stuff. always subscribe if you are not subscribed. All right. So, that's just the administrative part of it. I always forget to do that at the beginning of the video. Anyway. All right. So what's going on over in Nigeria? I know this has been out for a while, but I wanted to kind of change our perspective on what was going on in Nigeria. That way we can get an idea of the big picture. And actually, I'm just going to do one other housekeeping task that I'll sometimes forget when I start these lives. Hey, family, how does the audio sound? Is my audio at a good volume? Is it too loud? Is it too low? I know it's going to vary based on your the settings on your computer. I just want to make sure as a whole that the audio is okay. So if the audio is okay, if you could please just put a 1 in the chat. If the audio is okay, if you could please put a 1 in the chat. If not, throw a 2 in there, and we'll see how many 1s we have versus 2s. So it looks like it's pretty good. All right, I'm just going to do another quick check. Hang on 1 second. All right, I'll also check on my cell phone as well. Okay, all right, so it looks like audio is good. All right. All right, I think that's the last housekeeping. So let's get going, family. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with my PowerPoint. So bear with me just for a second. I'm just going to bring this up here. Let me do this here. Let's do that view. There we go. All right. So it's I kind of struggle with the title because it's kind of twofold, because one, we're going to talk about what's going on in Nigeria, because what's going on in Nigeria is very important. So we had the president of these United, I kind of pause when I say this, these United States, snakes, some people like say snakes or states. And so he's making threats against Nigeria. And for some people, it may seem like it's coming out of nowhere, out of left field, because, over here in the States, we're not following that, right? We're kind of, taken up with all the stuff that's happening here in our homeland, right? I say homeland, but just is where we are today, right? And, for some of us, I would even argue as, for most of us, we are not paying attention to what's going on over in, what folks would call the motherland or Africa, whether it be Nigeria or South Africa or stuff like that. And so to that point, when we saw this, these news outtakes of Trump saying that he's going to invade Nigeria, for a lot of us, it was like, it came out of left field. It's like, what's going on? Why is Trump going into to Nigeria? And of course, talks about Christians and stuff like that. And actually, let me play this little clip, because this is Trump's actual words about what he's going to do in Nigeria. So check this out, family.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen. If the Nigerian government continues to allow...
Now, there is some more to go, but I do want to pause here just to take note, because I don't know if you noticed or not, but, of course, over here in the States, we have had the Trump experience already. You know what I mean? Like, so we've been experiencing Trump ever since he came to office, even before, especially for those of our brothers and sisters that are, in the New York area. So they are very familiar with his tactics. Most importantly, they are familiar with his stance and his feelings towards Black folks, right? I mean, whether it be the folks in Haiti and the Bahamas, and him referring to them as blank hole countries, right? And this is like, or if he's talking about how does he say, putting it into Trump terms, black jobs. I'm doing air quotes, but you can't see it. Black jobs, right? So Trump has this demeaning position stance against black folks. But when he's talking about, then all of a sudden he's talking about Nigeria. He's saying, oh, well, there's some Christians over in Nigeria that we got to protect. Well, it's interesting the way that he's phrasing it and framing it up. Why? Well, because one, if you notice, so Trump's base, whether it be a large part of the base, small part of the base, either way, I would argue that Trump's base, a good portion of them are racist. Like, they don't like black folks. Like, whether you're talking about DEI or whether you're talking about affirmative action, whether you're talking about get rid of the the history that's in these books. Let's not talk about slavery. That's happened a long time ago. That wasn't me. I don't have nothing to do with that, right? So either way, he doesn't have a good track record when it comes to black folks. So when he's talking about Nigeria, and he has that base that that base that also has like-minded feelings towards black folks, well, then you're wondering why is he talking about Nigeria, one, and then two, how does his supporters feel about it? And of course, when I started thinking about that, I was like, well, how is he framing this up? And if you notice, when they're talking about Christians, they don't show black people. Even though this is Nigeria, one of the blackest places in the world, he's not showing pictures of the black Christians that he's referring to, because make no mistake about this, family, he is referring to black Christians. So the key, Trump knows the key to talking to his base. The key to talking to his base so that he can A, have support, and B, not lose support, is when you're talking about black folks, don't show that face. Don't show the face. Don't show the black folks that you're talking about if you want to maintain that support within his base. So one of the things he did, if you if you notice in these clips of Trump, he does not show the black Christians that he's referring to. That's one. And then two, the other thing is, there's some strangeness that's associated with these Christians, because, one of the things is that he's saying that is Christian, he tries to frame it up as if Christians are being targeted, and they're not being targeted because they're Christians. They're being targeted along with Muslims, along with other people, in this, I'd say this demarcation region where the North and the South come together, and there's disputes over land and stuff like that. And then there's this, I'll call it this suspect organization, right? This suspect organization that's tied to Al Qaeda. And we know who, what government institutions are associated with Al Qaeda, who has a track record with funding them, training them, right? But all of a sudden they show up over in Africa, giving grief, causing turmoil, causing chaos over in Nigeria. So anyway, long story short, there's a lot of stuff going on. I see the comments. You guys have some great comments in the comment section, and a lot of you all are pointing out the resources, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, see, my brother says Nigeria has oil, gold, and ancient Israelites. There you go. You're looking on my paper. Nigeria has oil, gold, and ancient Israelites. That's why this devil has his eyes on it. I agree with you 1,000%. That is right on the money, and we're going to talk about it. But let's just finish this clip of what Trump's talking about, and then we'll see what his buddy has to say about it.
Allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about, and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. These are cherished people. These are great people. Leave them alone. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast before it's too late.
Wait. These are cherished people? Trump? You saying that about black folks? Somebody record that.
If they don't, there's going to be hell to pay.
Well, so there you go. So Trump is saying that, he is willing to risk American soldiers' lives, the sailors' lives, to go in and fight for these black folks. Make that make sense, given his track record. I mean, had this been somebody else that hasn't had the track record with black folks that Trump has had, we might have, given him a pass on this. But because he's had the record that he's had, a lot of us are looking at this very suspect. But we know that it wasn't just Trump. And this is the thing that, that I don't know if you caught this or not, but this is the thing that got me. It wasn't just Trump. It was also the, how can I say, the AIPAC sponsored person, none other than Ted Cruz.
This weekend, President Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That is tremendous news. It's something that I've been advocating for a long time. There is no country on earth where Christians are more persecuted than Nigeria. Since 2009, more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered by Boko Haram and radical Islamic extremists.
Now, Boko Haram, that's the one I was telling you about earlier, where they are tied to Al Qaeda, right? And they're the ones that are going around and unaliving on both sides, both the Israelites, both on the Christian side and the Muslim side. And we'll talk a little bit about this as well. Thank you. Fair use. We'll talk a little bit about this as well. And that is, the area, the territory that they're in, of course, that area is steep in history as it refers to the history of the Israelites. And the Israelites in those areas that go back, hundreds and hundreds of years, they arrived in different various waves coming from the east over to the west. And once they settled there, some became Muslims, some became Christians, and some stayed Israelites. So our brothers and sisters are there, and they are plugged into these various, religious organizations. And, I don't think it's by, coincidence that both the Christians and the Muslims are getting unalive, because they are, in my mind, the same people. But going back to Ted Cruz, I don't know if you picked it up, but when Ted Cruz first started his I want to say video, what he said was that he had been trying for a long time to get Trump to do this. I'm just going to back it up real quick, just so that you can hear what he says. Check this out.
So this weekend, President Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That is tremendous news. It's something that I've been advocating for a long time.
So he's been advocating this for a long time. And Ted Cruz, he says that he's the champion for the 1948ers. He said that the reason why he got into Congress was because he wanted to be the main champion for the 1948ers. So why is this champion for the 1948ers trying to influence Trump and try to have Trump designate Nigeria as an area of concern, a country of concern, which puts them on a certain stance with the U.S.? What is his aim? Or better yet, what is the aim of the people that that back him, that are directing him to do so? And that's another thing, family, that I encourage people to do is not necessarily look at the people that's in front of you doing the thing, but try to find or identify the people that's behind them, that's funding them, that's supporting them, or that's directing them. Because a lot of the people that stand before you, they are being financed, influenced, or sent by somebody. And I think this applies to Ted Cruz as well.
There is no country on earth where Christians are more persecuted than Nigeria. Since 2009, more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered by Boko Haram and radical Islamic extremists. More than 20,000 churches and schools have been burned to the ground. I introduced legislation to direct the administration to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. President Trump has done that. Thank you, President Trump. We're going to keep the fight going to protect Christians and to protect religion.
So again, in his own words, he said that he was the one that introduced the legislation. The one that is the champion for the 1948ers introduced the legislation to have Nigeria designated as a country of concern, whichever one it is. Think about that.
Just liberty. Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my, you pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. So you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
You can tell he's getting frustrated. He says, Tucker. In any case, family, so this is the one that went viral, of course, you know, between Ted Cruz, right, and let's see here. Hang on a second, family. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, but yeah. So it went viral, and we have Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, right, going back and forth, and Tucker's calling him out on, you know, first of all, not knowing the scriptures, and second of all, trying to tie himself to the 1948ers. And of course, this is what we're talking about here when we say that, you know, all right, so one, you know, they're tying themselves to the wrong Israel, one, and then two, all these resources and stuff that they're sending over to Israel because they think that they're Israel. You know, if they're not Israel, that belongs to somebody else. That's, you know, that's a conversation for another day. But in any case, we'll come back to what Ted Cruz is talking about here in just a moment. So let me just play this out, and we'll circle back.
Christian, I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
Hold on.
No.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what, hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yet nations exists, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
Tucker. Tucker. Well, we know that is not correct. And for those that are in the chat or that may watch this video at a later date, feel free to check out my book, Who Are the Biblical Israelites? It's pretty much in all stores as far as online retail stores. So definitely check it out. Who Are the Biblical Israelites by Benayah Israel. We definitely go over that in some detail and make it irrefutable, going over archaeological evidence. All right. So now let's go back to what Tucker was talking about. And for that, I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Let me see if I can switch over here. Hang on a second, fam. Let's do a stop sharing. And I'm going to see if I can pull my slide back up. Let's see, slideshow view. All right, there we go. All right, so let's just kind of follow up on what Ted Cruz was talking about. So we talked about Trump, and he's making threats to Nigeria. And as you all, as many of you all have pointed out already in the chat, you know, we believe a lot of this has to do with oil, minerals, resources. You know, why else are they, you know, the European Union at large? Why else are they even over there in Africa? It's because of the resources that Africa has, whether it be the diamonds, the gold, or the oil. But what happened in order for this just to manifest out of nowhere? It just seemed like it manifests out of nowhere. I mean, how come Trump wasn't talking about the oil and the resources 3 months ago? How come he wasn't talking about the oil and the resources 5 months ago? We'll go into that, and this is the thing I want to bring to your attention within this lesson here. All right, so you can see on the screen where it talks about, you know, Trump's preparing to go against Nigeria, and then this is just a follow up on what Ted Cruz was talking about, and of course you've seen this refuted in multiple videos, whether it be on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, all over social media, people were pulling this apart. Different ethnicities, a lot of Christian pastors and stuff like that were pulling this apart, and they were pointing out that of course the scripture that he was referring to was Genesis 12. You can see it on the screen, and and it says, Genesis 12 verse 3, it says, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And of course, rightfully so, people pointed out that, hey, this was referring to Abraham's seed, right? But you know what, family? What I found pretty interesting and actually funny was that the actual scripture, there's an actual scripture that talks about Israel being blessed. You blessing Israel and the Most High blessing you. That's in the book, right? Let me show that to you right quick. So that's in the book. And for that, let's go to Genesis chapter 27, verse 28, right? Genesis chapter 27, verse 28. And this has to do with none other than Jacob and Esau. So during the story of Jacob and Esau, of course, if for those of you that may not know, you have Isaac. He's getting ready to bless one of his sons, or he's thinking that he's going to give the blessing to Esau. Whether you think that Jacob stole it or it was Jacob's blessing rightfully, because Esau did, sell his birthright over to Jacob, but it didn't seem as though he was going to honor what he did. But in any case, here we have Jacob getting ready to be blessed by Isaac. And you can find this in Genesis chapter 27, verse 28, which reads, and it says, therefore, and this is, let me back up a little bit, just so that you can get this in context. So we're going to read about Isaac, and it says, verse 25, it says, and he bring it near to me. And this is talking about the food for him to eat. And it says, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of raiment and blessed him, and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field, which the Yah has blessed. 28. Therefore, Yah give thee the dew of heaven. Now, this is the blessing that's being bestowed upon Jacob / Israel. So this is Israel's blessing in the scriptures. Now, verse 28, it says, therefore, Yah give you the dew of heaven, the fatness of the earth. So Jacob / Israel's blessing is that he's going to have the fatness of the earth. Let's keep that in mind. It says, and the plenty of corn and wine. It says, now this is probably, in my estimation, why they don't read this scripture. They don't point to this one as being the reason why they support Israel, because there's some things that go along with it. And you can see it on the screen, because along with this blessing, verse 29, it says, let people serve you. There go that Christian doctrine. It's all messed up. It's all messed up. It's all messed up. It says, verse 29, let people serve you, and nations bow down to thee. What? I thought everything was equal. But here's the blessing being bestowed upon Israel. It says, be Yah over your brethren. So even within the tribe of Israel, we have Judah being declared. Well, actually, I'm sorry, this is Israel. This is Israel. This isn't a specific tribe. So it's talking about, it says, be Yah over your brethren, and let your mother's son bow down to thee. So that would be Esau in this case, because Jacob's brother was Esau. So let your brother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curse you, and blessed be he that bless thee. Now that is the blessing that is bestowed upon Israel in Genesis. This is the one that the people on Sunday morning, that they're not reading, of course, when they're refuting what Ted Cruz was saying, in his interview with Tucker Carlson. So this is the blessing. It, like I said, it's in the Bible, but no one's messing with it. So you think about it, with us being the children of Israel, us, the so-called children of the diaspora of the transatlantic slave trade, with this blessing, it says, "Cursed be he, everyone that cursed thee, and blessed be he that blessed thee." And just to kind of finish this up, family, it says Genesis chapter 27, and it reads, this is Esau's blessing. Now let's look and read about how Esau's blessing is different or similar to Israel's blessing, Israel/Jacob's blessing. So it says, "And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth." What? Now that should sound familiar because that's similar to Israel's blessing. So it says that Esau's dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, whereas Jacob's blessing is, it says, therefore he gives the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and the plenty of corn and wine. So it's, in other words, the places of fatness of the earth is Israel's or Jacob's, but Esau is going to dwell there. It says, "Thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above." So in other words, Esau is going to be where Jacob's fatness of the earth is. Just put it to you in a different way. Oh, big shout out to my cousin, We Woke Now. Shalom, shalom. Shalom. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Peace and blessings, Pastor Kelly. Yep. I guess when we get to a good spot, Pastor Kelly, I'll shoot you the link if you want to hop on. I know you may not be in a spot to do so, but just let me know. All right. So here we are, family. Let's see. So we've identified and showed you that. So it's Jacob/Israel has the blessing, and blessed are those that bless him, and cursed are those that curse him. And it is literally in the scriptures in Genesis chapter 27, right? And verse 39. Genesis chapter 27, verse 28. Let's see. "Therefore let the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and the plenty of corn." Yep. So Genesis chapter 27, verse 28. I misspoke on that. It's not 29, it's 28. All right. So you got that. All right. So with that being said, so now that we know, so we got Trump, he's making these threats seemingly to come out of nowhere. And, we have Ted Cruz piggybacking. I would say lambacking, but now he's piggybacking off of what Trump said. And basically he's admitting that he's been trying to do this for a while. And Ted Cruz is the champion of the 1948ers. And we're going to have to keep this in perspective, because we're going to come back around to this in the end. So first of all, why did this happen? So let's take a step back, because again, this didn't happen in a vacuum. This didn't just occur. So what I'm going to take you back to is during the Iran-Israel war, or Israeli war, not Israel war, Israeli war. So when that 12-day war occurred, and there were certain things that we may have missed in the latter part of that war. Like, we know it started off, Israel struck Iran responded, and the missiles and the bombing went back and forth for a while. But let me see if I can pull this up here, family. Let's do this. Oh, yeah. Just want to touch on this real quick before I pull up this clip. So, and we talked about this earlier too, and that is, like, why is Israel so, obsessed with Iran? Out of all the people over in the Middle East, they seem to be obsessed with Iran. And one of the things we pointed out was that Iran is because Iran is literally prophesied to destroy Israel, or the people that are in Israel, which are the Medes. Right. I'm sorry, the people which in Israel, which are the Idumeans. The Medes, which is our Iran, they're the ones that are going to destroy Israel. I had that misspoke on that. But hopefully you're following what I'm saying, family. Basically, Iran, present day Iran, they are the biblical Medes, the Medes and the Persians. Literally, the president of Iran is from, he's from the ancient Persian, how can I put it? The ancient Persian territory. Like he's literally from the ancient Persian territory. And of course, so he's leading that country against Israel. And so Israel, I believe that they fully are aware of prophecy. And this is why they are literally trying to do everything that they can to deter prophecy, even if they have to bring the United States in to do their dirty work, because they believe that the United States is the most powerful nation out there today. So why not just take them over and have them fight against or destroy Iran for you? Right. I believe that's their thinking. And this has to do with what you see on the screen. This is Isaiah 13. This is the prophecy against the Persians and the Medes. And it says, behold, I will stir up, and this is the Most High saying, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. You see? So this is the Most High saying, I'm going to stir them up, right? This is the Most High's doing. The Most High has a judgment coming against Esau, Edom. And then we have Jeremiah chapter 51. And let me see if I can stop this really quick. Trying to make it through here at a good clip, because I'm not a big fan of having long lives here. So Jeremiah 51, and that's going to be, let's use this guy here. So let's do Jeremiah 51. Bear with me just for a second, fam. I'm just going to pull this scripture up real quick, and we'll just read a little bit of it. And it says, thus says Yahuwah, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that raise up against me a destroying wind, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare you not her young men, destroy you utterly all her hosts. Verse 4, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel has not been forsaken, nor Judah of his Yah, or it says of the Yahuwah of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. And the question is, when? When are we to flee out of Babylon and deliver every man his soul? It says, be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time. It says, this is the time of Yah's vengeance. So during the time of Yah's vengeance, we're going to be running up out of here. Not anybody's going to be sticking around for that. And it says, he will deliver unto her a recompense. Verse 7, Babylon has been a golden cup in Yah's hand, that made all the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. It says fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her. If so be, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she was not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Yah has brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Yah the Elohim. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. And that's what I was referring to. It says, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yah, the vengeance of his temple. And of course, there's a whole history behind how the Most High's temple was destroyed in 70 AD. It was Esau that destroyed Yah's temple in 70 AD. They even dug up the foundation stones thereof as to make it as if his temple wasn't even there. You got to think about it. This was the Most High's holy place that he put his name, his holy name on there, and Esau had the audacity to go in there and destroy it. So as you look at these scriptures, you keep seeing this phrase, vengeance of his temple, vengeance of his temple. The Most High has not forgotten about that. No siree. All right. So with that being said, let's hop back over to our presentation, family. And like I said, I just wanted to give you an idea of what's going on over in Nigeria. Got President Trump seemingly coming out of left field, making threats to Nigeria. Was it just, how come he did it recently? How come it wasn't 3 months ago, 5 months ago, 10 months ago? And the reason is what I'm showing you, family, is that in order to get an idea of why, you have to go back to the Israel-Iran war, to the very end of that engagement, to see why we are talking about Nigeria. And I'm going to show you here in a second. So for that, let me share my screen. Hang on a second, fam. I'm going to see if I can pull up this slide view. There we go. All right. So we read that, and we also talked about, so this is also talks about Idumea, and this is mainly talking about how, a lot of people that, especially, folks that look at prophecy, they'll try to make heads and tails as far as like what's happening present day, like what's happening over there in the, what they call the state of Israel, over in that territory, what's happening over in the world. Well, hey, let me go and check the scriptures to see, where we are. And you'll see a lot of them go to Ezekiel. However, one of the things that you won't see them do is go to Ezekiel or the book of Obadiah and see how the heathen, or the Idumeans, or the children, the sons of Esau, have taken possession of the land of Israel. I mean, it's literally in the scriptures. And it says, like, for instance, this is Ezekiel chapter 36, and this is the Most High talking about how Esau, Edom, took over his land. And it says, verse 5 says, therefore, thus says Yah, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for prey. So again, you can see that even the Most High is pointing out that Esau, Edom has, and I quote, appointed my land into their possession. Notice that it didn't say appointed Israel's land. Notice it didn't say appointed Jacob's land. It said appointed my land. Again, this is the Most High speaking, the Most High's land into their possession. You got to think how, family, Esau is in a whole lot of hurt. He's going to be in a whole lot of hurt when this judgment hits, because not only did he appoint the Most High's land into his possession, then he went into the Most High's temple, destroyed it, and then dug it up, and then covered it up with dirt to show that it was to make it seem as though the Most High was never there. And that's why you see the Most High say the vengeance of his temple. Hallelujah. All right, and I missed some stars here. Peace and blessings, daughter of Yah. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. The King's daughter 7888. Most appreciated. Thank you. And also always love to have my cousin Pastor Kelly in the house. If you guys haven't subscribed to We Woke Now, definitely check him out. He has some outstanding content. He puts out stuff way more often than I do. Just trying to catch up with the cadence of it. I've been super busy lately, family. So most High willing, we'll be able to put out some more content for you and get back into delivering some interesting history lessons as well, because I think there's some things that we probably need to talk about here, especially being in the last days. All right. So with that being said, let me just advance this slide, and again go back to what I said, family. So Israel, Iran, we're going back in time, right? Israel, Iran trading missiles. The United States goes in and tries to bomb the facility. And then Iran does this. It says, Iran reportedly moves to close the Strait of Hormuz after U.S. attacks. So this is one of the moves that Iran did. All right? One of the moves that Iran did. And let me play this clip. I think I have a clip on this here. Hang on one second. Let's go here.
Senior Iranian lawmaker now reporting that in what they call a decisive response to U.S. aggression against, again, what they call Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities. The Iranian parliament has voted to close the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz.
This is one of the ways that Iran can strike at the United States and the West as a whole dramatically with immediate effect. The effect this would have, if it's verified, on oil prices will be felt in markets, I would think, starting on Monday.
So, we have, I think I have the dates on this. You can see, if you look at the date on the screen, let me swap out this screen here. Hang on 1 second, family. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to swap these screens out. So let's see if I can do slideshow. There we go. All right. So if you look at the date on here, so 6/22, this was earlier this year, in June of this year. And so Iran was like, all right, well, fine. Y'all want to bomb me? You know what? I'm cutting off oil for all y'all. Basically, that's what he said. That's what Iran was saying. You think you're gonna bomb me and come at me? You know what? I'm cutting off the Strait of Hormuz. And it's interesting because a lot of these key places that you hear in these conflicts are places of black folks, but you don't even know it. Like, did you know that the Strait of Hormuz, like, that's black? Like, when you think of the Iran, the country, there's literally two places that have large black populations, and you guessed it, Hormuz is one of the two. So when the people talk about conflict in the Strait of Hormuz, they're talking about conflict where Israel is, and I believe that is Israel. Now you should be able to see this on your screen. Now off to the right, this is the Strait of Hormuz. It's right. It separates the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, and it's right in this bend right here. And I think I have I got a closer zoom in on this. So this is Hormuz, right? Strait of Hormuz again. This is where the black folks are in Iran. So when they talk about things about to get kicked off and ships shooting back and forth, they were thinking about doing this over where the black folks are. Now remember Israel's blessing, or remember Isaac's blessing to Jacob. You're going to have the fatness of the earth. The fatness of the earth, meaning that you're going to be in the best spots. The most valuable spots is where you're going to be. So this is a valuable spot here, one of the many valuable spots on the earth. And what do you find? A large Israelite population. Now, it's interesting that, you may not know that when all this stuff kicked off, before this stuff kicked off, there was what they call blood rain that occurred in the Strait of Hormuz, which caused that sea to be red, as if that was an omen of things to come. Just wanted to throw that in there, that did actually happen. So remember, I put up there June 22nd, Iran was saying, you know what? We're going to close it down. Strait of Hormuz, no oil for y'all, no food for you, right? And then less than 2 days later, Trump ceasefire. You see, family, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to know why the U.S. stopped, their conflict, why Israel stopped their conflict with Iran, because Iran pushed the oil button on the oil state or the oil country, right? United States, all about oil. Iran pushed the oil button. You know what? Look, this ain't working for me. Y'all not getting no oil. Push the button. Iran or the U.S. and Israel, Trump was like, ceasefire. I don't want $10 a gallon prices over here in the States. No sirree. So now that happened, now you know that Israel still wants to, go against Iran, because there's that prophecy on the book that Iran is going to destroy Esau, Edom, or the people that's in the state of Israel today that have appointed their land into their own possession. So that prophecy is still out there. So Benjamin Netanyahu and company still want, in my estimation, they still want this war. They still want to get rid of that threat of Iran and that prophecy coming to pass. But the U.S. knows that Iran has pushed the oil card. So how do they get out of that? Well, one of the things is that they have to diversify their oil. They need another way to get oil so that if they start a conflict with Iran, they need to still be able to get their oil and not get impacted, right? Hopefully I explained that clearly. So basically, the U.S., Israel were forced to stop their hostilities with Iran after Iran pushed the oil button. So, and of course, you've heard about Iran wanting to restart. I mean, not Iran, but Israel want to restart their conflict with Iran. But in order to do that, they have to solve that oil button that Iran has. How do you solve the oil button that Iran has? Well, let's take a look. These are the countries with the largest oil reserves. Let's see if any of these countries sound familiar. The country with the top oil reserve is Venezuela. Have you heard about Venezuela in the news? Has the U.S. been trying to go into Venezuela? We have number 2 on the list, Saudi Arabia. We already good with Saudi Arabia. Listen, number 3 is who else? Iran. Are we trying to go to war with Iran? What's number 4 on the list? Iraq. There you go. And what's the next one? Number 5, Canada. Has Trump been talking about he wants to get Canada? Are you following the oil trail? We got number 6, UAE. Oh, that's already got. Kuwait. Oh, we already got that. Russia, of course, they're over in Ukraine trying to start stuff over in Ukraine, and Ukraine has those resources over there. So hopefully you're starting to see the pattern of conflict written in oil. The pattern of conflict written in oil. This is where the conflicts are popping off around the world. And then, of course, we had Libya. You had Gaddafi, right? Now, let's look at number 11. Well, what do you know? We have Nigeria down there. Imagine that. It's the oil. It's number 11 on the list is Nigeria. Wow. So remember, in order to offset that oil button that Iran has, Israel / the U.S. has to find other imports of oil, enter in Venezuela, enter in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria just did something recently to kind of move them up on this list in a big way. They made an announcement not too long ago. They actually had 2 announcements not too long ago, which what I'm proposing is which caused Trump to have to respond. So let's go through these announcements that Nigeria made. So let me do this. Let's do. Let me play this one first. Check this out, family.
Dangote just said he's building the world's biggest refinery, not Africa's biggest, the world's biggest.
Now, I'm not. Hopefully, you can hear the audio on this. I don't think I bumped up the volume on the video, so it may be kind of low. But basically, what he said initially was, in Nigeria, this guy that he owns this oil refinery in Nigeria. They stated that they're going to upgrade this refinery so that it is the largest refinery in the world. Fair use. Thank you for that. Fair use. So Nigeria just stated, say, hey, we are going to have the largest oil refinery in the world. I forgot the time frame on that, but in any case, basically Nigeria rang the dinner bell to the oil predators. They rang the dinner bell, family. It's like, hey, we're gonna be number 1. We're gonna do this. And it's interesting when you look at do the history on the research on the person that owns this oil refinery. I'm trying to get an idea of what his ethnicity is. I think they were saying that I'm trying to get an idea. I'm still trying to work it out. I have an idea of where, what countries and stuff his grandfather came from. It looks as though it's from the Sudan area, and we'll take a look at that here in a moment. He's from that area where there were a bunch of Israelites from. And remember what I told you? I said Israelites, especially in Africa, in the west coast of Africa, some of them became Muslims, some of them became Christians, some of them became animalists. They went into other things, and some of them became practice, or some of them still worship and practice the law, statutes, and commandments. So in any case, this is what we have, family. Let me play the rest of this.
And while that's happening, 8 African countries are being run by soldiers. Malawi just stopped exporting its raw mineral resources, and Nigeria is climbing back to number 3 on the continent's economy list. Here's what nobody's talking about though. Who is actually holding the pen while all this is going down? Many of you have been telling me in the comment section that we should keep on doing the weekly recap on the hottest news possible across the world and in Africa. Look, this week was wild. It felt like watching Africa floor the gas and slam the brake at the same exact time. You have got Dangote trying to beat out India, elected presidents getting kicked out left and right, countries basically telling multinationals, yeah, if you're making money here, your office better be here too. You see, something big is moving. Power is changing hands. And if you blink, you are going to miss who's actually winning here. Welcome to the Strategic Lens. Let me walk you through what went down this week.
Yeah, definitely encourage you to check out this brother's channel because he does an excellent job breaking down what's going on, not only in Nigeria but in other African countries as well.
So Aliko Dangote wakes up and says he's doubling his refinery from 650,000 barrels a day to 1.4 million. You know what that means, right? Nigeria is about to have the largest single oil refinery on the planet.
On the planet, he's ringing that dinner bell. He's ringing that dinner bell. And all right, so if you're kind of like me, I'm not an expert when it comes to oil refinement, right? But so I did some research on it, and just to keep it basic, right? So the way the oil refinement process works, or at least this step that is in, you have the extraction of the oil. So you got those oil rig, those things, those oil pumps, right, pumping the oil out of the ground. And then you have the refinery that turns the oil into fuel. And then of course they take that fuel out and they ship it to different places. Well, what was happening was that, so for Nigeria, they have the resources in the ground. Now remember, the blessing of Jacob / Israel was that you were going to have the fatness of the earth. We're going to take a look at this, the fatness of the earth. So wherever Israel was or is where you're going to find those rich minerals, whether it be oil, gold, or whatever. And all right, so we'll save that for in 10 minutes. we'll circle back on that. But as far as like the oil refinement, the process of oil extraction, so you take the oil out of the ground, then you take it over to the refinery, and of course the oil gets transformed into fuel, and they take it out and they distribute it. Well, Nigeria didn't have that capacity, that oil refinement capacity, so they were having to ship it out to other countries, and the other countries would process it, and then they would sell it back to Nigeria. I believe I think he covers that in this video. I had to drop one of the videos because I was running out of space. But in one of these videos, it shows how Nigeria had to ship out. They pulled the oil out of the ground, and then they had to ship it out to Europe to process it. They processed it, and then they sold Nigeria back its own oil. Come on, family. Come on, family. So what Nigeria started doing, they were like, you know what? I don't like this business model. So what I'm going to do, and this is what this brother did, is that we're going to build the largest oil refinery in the world. That way, when it comes out of the ground, it's not going up to Europe. It's going to go right over to Nigeria. We're going to make the bank off this. And then we're going to get it. And then we're going to sell it to y'all. Right. So as you can imagine, this caused some consternation, right? This caused some people some issues because there are some people that were going to get hurt by Nigeria cutting out the middleman. Enter in Trump. Enter in Trump. because they just recently made this announcement, ringing the dinner bell, saying, no, we're gonna have the biggest oil refinery in the world. Trump's like, oh well, the Christians are getting persecuted. We got to come in. No, we got to come into Nigeria. We got to rescue the Christians. Yeah, that's what it is. We got to come and rescue the Christians, right? After they were just ringing the dinner bell. But there's a little bit more to the story. Let's see what this brother has to say.
Not just Africa, on Earth. India's Jamnagar refinery has been sitting at the top for years, and Dangote basically said, cool, we are taking that. Now here is the part many people aren't really getting. For how many years has Nigeria been selling crude oil, then turning around and buying back the refined stuff? Now think about that for a second. You are selling raw materials cheap, buying back the finished product expensive. It's like you grow cocoa beans, ship them to Switzerland, then bought chocolate bars back at 10 times the price. Makes no sense, right? So we have the old Nigeria who exports crude to Europe, Asia, and refines it and imports them back to Nigeria. Then we have the new Nigeria who refines oil locally and then exports them to the world. When Dangote finishes this thing, Nigeria stops getting played by its own oil. They become the ones calling the shots. They set the prices, they control who gets what. West Africa, Central Africa, everyone's coming to Lagos now. And get this, Dangote's worth just hit $30 billion with a B. First African after Mansa Musa, who according to records is still the richest person that ever lived. Dangote did all this by building an entire cement empire, and now he's doing.
Well, truth be told, this is why I was doing research on Dangote. I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but yeah, the way he got his riches, you know how he got his riches, right? I mean, it's no guess, no mystery. Slavery, transatlantic slave trade. His grandfather was involved in the transatlantic slave trade, so that's how he got his riches, and of course, in trading and some other stuff. And then now he's able to buy this refinery, build this refinery, make the refinery the number one refinery in the world. And like I said, that's ringing the dinner bell. That's cutting out the middleman. And this is why Donald Trump spoke out. Now, I will say that there was another reason why Donald Trump spoke out, but this is one of the reasons why Donald Trump was like, whoa. There's Christians. We got to come for those Christians, those black. Oh, I'm sorry. We can't say black. Those Christians. We got to come for those Christians. That's why he said that, in my opinion.
The same thing with energy. But hold up before we start celebrating. There is always a catch, right? People are asking the real question. Who's actually gonna benefit from this? Sure, Dangote says 65,000 jobs, mostly Nigerians. That sounds good on paper. But is this money actually reaching regular people, or is it just making one guy even richer?
And that's a good question to ask. Is it all going to go into his pocket, or is it going to trickle down into the people, the rest of the Nigerian people? And that's just something that they'll have to figure out. And fair use, thank you for that. Fair use. So that is something that they'll have to work out. But in any case, either way, family, this is part of the reason why Donald Trump spoke out. And let me see if I have another one here.
Trump just did something that should make every African pause. He didn't just condemn violence in Nigeria. He threatened to go in, guns blazing, to completely wipe out terrorists. His exact words. But here is what makes this story fascinating. The two faiths Nigerians are supposedly unalived over, neither one is actually Africa. And there is another layer. A massive economic shift happening right now in Nigeria. And
yeah. So again, the shift is happening. This is why Nigeria came to the forefront. And then the other thing is, let me see here. Hang on 1 second, family. Nigeria also did something else. And this is, what Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and trying to think, many others have done. But Nigeria also did this recently. So this is another recent thing that Nigeria did.
Invite him to address the assembly.
This is the United Nations.
Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished delegates. The chaos that shadows our world is a reminder that we cannot afford the luxury of inaction. We'll have been consumed by our differences,
on this one as well.
but there have been no communities such as this
forward on this one.
to
So
remind us that
basically, Nigeria went before the United Nations, and among other things, this is twofold. They went in front of the United Nations and they are petitioning to be a permanent member of the United Nations. This black nation came up to the United Nations just recently and said, hey, we want a permanent seat at this table. Because, they getting ready to change the oil game, inside of Nigeria. So, they thinking big now, family. That's what I'm saying. There's a reason why Trump was like, we got to come in. We got to come in. We got to save the Christians. We got to save them black Christians. Trump don't like black folks, but we got to save them black Christians, them black oil drenched Christians. And so here's Nigeria asking for one, a permanent seat at the table, and two, they're going to have a couple of words for the nation state of Israel. I'm going to see if I can fast forward.
to be the third most populous country in the world, with one of the youngest and most dynamic populations on earth, a stabilizing force in regional security, and a consistent partner in global peacemaking. Our case for permanent seat at the Security Council is a demand for fairness, for representation, and for reform that restores credibility to the very institution upon which the hope of multilateralism rests. This is why Nigeria stands firmly behind the UN-80 initiative of the UN Secretary General and the resolution adopted by this Assembly on 18 July 2025, a bold step to reform the wider United Nations system for greater relevance, efficiency, and effectiveness in the face of unprecedented financial strain. We support the drive to rationalize structures and end the duplication of responsibilities and programs, so that this institution may speak with one voice and act with greater coherence. Madam President, Africa, none of us in this world can function peacefully in isolation. This is the heavy burden of sovereignty. Sovereignty is a covenant of shared responsibility, a recognition that our survival is bound to the survival of others. To live up to this charge, we must work hand in hand with our neighbors and partners. We must follow the trails of weapons, of money, and of people. For these forces, too often driven by pestilence non-state actors, ignite the fires of conflict across our region. Madam President, Nigeria's soldiers and civilians carry a proud legacy. They have participated in 51 out of 60 United Nations peacekeeping operations since our independence in 1960. We have stood with our partners in Africa to resolve conflicts, ultimate victory. We are despised by terrorists because we choose tolerance over tyranny. Their ambition is to divide us and to poison our humanity with a toxic rhetoric of hate. Our difference to the devastations of our neighbors near and distant. This is why we speak of the violence and aggression visited upon innocent civilians in Gaza.
Rutro, they starting the largest oil refinery. Now they're asking for a seat at the table. Now they're getting ready to call out Israel. And, like I showed you earlier, Ted Cruz, the APAC champion, was calling out Nigeria. Now, hopefully now the dots are connecting. Now you see why Ted Cruz was talking about Nigeria. That's because Nigeria was talking about Israel.
The illegal attack on Qatar and the tensions that scar the wider region. It is not only because of the culture of impunity that makes such acts intolerable, but because our own bitter experience has taught us that such violence never ends where it begins. We do not believe that the sanctity of human life should be trapped in the corridors of endless debate. That is why we say, without stuttering and without doubt, that a two-state solution remains the most dignified path to lasting peace for the people of Palestine. For too long, this community has borne the weight of moral conflict. For too long, we have been caught in the crossfire of violence that offends the conscience of humanity. We come not as partisans, but as peacemakers. We come as brothers and sisters of a shared wall, a wall that must never reduce the right to live into the currency of devious politics. The people of Palestine are not collateral damage in a civilization searching for order. They are human beings, equal in worth, entitled to the same freedoms and dignities that the rest of us take for granted. We want to make the choice crystal clear. Civilized values over fear. Civilized values.
Yep. So you get the point. He goes in there, for the spokesman for Nigeria, and like I said, asking for a seat at the table, and also calling out Israel. So now you know why Ted Cruz, the AIPAC, the AIPAC leader, he's been paid off by AIPAC 5 ways to Sunday, and why he's speaking against Nigeria. So we got that right, just kind of showing you like the reasons why Trump just all of a sudden, seemingly all of a sudden just pops up, right? And now he has a problem with Nigeria. He's calling out the these stuff that's going on in Nigeria that has family. It's been happening for a long time, and it's not just against the Christians. It's against both the Christians and the Muslims, and all the people that's over there. Those folks that are carrying out those crimes, they are not targeting Christians specifically. But that's not the that's not what I'm trying to pull up this slide here. That's not what Donald Trump would have you to believe. Not what these news agencies would have you to believe. That's not what Ted Cruz would have you to believe. So the battle, family, one of the battles is for the oil in Nigeria, and many of you have pointed this out. It's for those resources. And as I told you before, is that when you talk about resources, you're talking about places where Israel is located, because Israel's blessing is that they will have the fatness of the earth. And as you can see here on the Encyclopedia Britannica, and it's talking about the Niger Delta region. This is where the oil is. I'm going to show you here in a minute that the place where the oil is located is the place where Israel was located, and it was also the same place where Israel was taken into slavery in great numbers. And it says, just read a little bit about the Encyclopedia Britannica. It says the British in the Niger Delta. It says, in fact, the most prosperous British trade was developing on a part of the coast on which there was no British interference other than naval action to intercept slave ships to secure anti-slave trade treaties. It says that was the Niger Delta. It says British shipping had been paramount there when British slave trade had been abolished in 1807. So British did abolish their slave trade in 1807, but before then, when they attained the Asiento in the 1700s, and they were given explicit permission to trade in the slave trade, Britain or England, they were the ones that were on the west coast of Africa taking out those slaves. In fact, once they received the permission from the Pope in the form of the Asiento was just a grant that gave England the authority to trade slaves, to get those slaves off of the West African coast. Once they did that, they then created a map, and you can find the map created by Emmanuel Bowman, and he created a map, and he renamed the slave coast the Kingdom of Judah. So after Britain got the permission from the Pope, then in their maps, they named the slave coast the Kingdom of Judah. This is what you can find in these maps that are out on the internet today. This is after Britain got or received the permission from the Pope, and they renamed it the Kingdom of Judah on their maps. So again, I just want to show you, family, that when you're talking about Israel, the location of Israel in this region, that throughout history, Israel was associated with three places, three spots. There's the Kingdom of Judah that you find on the maps. There's Lam, and you can see it on the map because I have it here in green, right? Lam. And then there's also above the territory of Lam is Bambrus. So it's three spots stacked on top of each other. And one of the things that I pointed out earlier, in when you look at maps of the concentration of DNA of a specific DNA group, E1B1A. So E1B1A is the predominant haplogroup of the so-called Negro here, in the States and abroad, the ones that were caught up in the transatlantic slave trade, the children of the diaspora, and over in Africa today. When you look at the concentration of E1B1A, the people that were in the transatlantic slave trade, the predominant haplogroup or the group DNA group here over in the States, when you look at it over in Africa, what you'll find is that the highest concentrated sections match the sections where Israel was located. So where the Kingdom of Judah, Lam, and Bambrus was located, that's where you find the highest concentration of E1B1A. So our genetic footprint matches what you'll find in books, right? When you look at books, and the books will say things like the people in Bambrus were Israelites, or it says the people of Lam were Israelites, or the people in the Kingdom of Judah were Israelites. Well, those places are the places where the DNA of the so-called African American Negro and those of the diaspora, those are places where our DNA is in the highest concentration. Even so much so, you see there's a high concentration over here to the left in Senegal. Exact same story. This is where the Israelites were located. And let me fast forward through here. I just want to show you this. So this is a map of Nigeria. You can see this area down here. This is the Niger Delta region. And of course, shout out to Dante Fortson, brother Dante Fortson. This is from his website, Black History in the Bible. So if you're looking for a good resource to find old references about Israel, because one of the things that we tell people, or one of the things I tell people, is that if you want to find information about Israel being over on the west coast of Africa, just before and during the transatlantic slave trade, you have to go and reference old books. These are books that were created roughly in the 1850s or older. Occasionally you'll find books that are a little bit older than 1850 that do have these truths in it, but around 1850 is where I saw that there was a shift that started to take place, where the whitewashing of these, of this material started to take place. But right around the 1850s, right, is in these books, you'll see that the books over and over again, one, they identified the Israelites as black / dark skin / swarthy / brown, right, brown skinned people. And then two, you'll also find that the Israelites were placed on the west coast of Africa just before the start of the transatlantic slave trade. And then after the start of the transatlantic slave trade, you'll find that the books also points out areas in the west coast of Africa where the Israelites were still located. And one of the places where they were still located was the Niger Delta region, Niger Delta region. And this is just a quote from this book called, I think it's called, Africa Being an Accurate Description of the New World. And in this book, believe this is by John Ogilvy. And this again, he's talking about the west coast of Africa. And it says many Jews also are scattered over this region. Some natives boasting themselves of Abraham's seed, inhabiting both sides of the river Niger. It's called Niger. It was pronounced nigger back in the day. It's pronounced Niger today, right? And of course, you can read the rest of this where it says, others are Asian strangers who fled thither either from the desolation of Jerusalem by Vespasian or from Judea, wasted and depopulated by the Romans, Persians, Saracens, and Christians. So basically, one of the things we point out is that the Israelites came to the West African coast in waves, right? Just over time, many, migration waves made their way to the west coast of Africa, culminating in the last wave being the Israelites coming from Spain and Portugal. That's a topic for another day. All right. So what you're looking at here is the Niger Delta region, and you can see it here where it says Igbo land. And of course, this is the territory where the Igbos are located. And during Igbo land, this is where the Israelites were located. They're located right in the Niger Delta region, right where the old references pointed out that the Israelites were located. And even today, you have some of the Igbo tribe. They even to this day, they still identify as Israelites. Hallelujah. They still identify as Israelites. So again, remember when I told you, family, where the Israelites are located, that's going to be the fatness of the land. And, as a testimony to the Most High's word being true, this is where the oil is located. So the Israelites who located in the Niger Delta region, this is where that oil in Nigeria is located. And this is, also where I guess that, the oil that's going to be taken to that refinery is going to be taken from. All right. And this is kind of just reiterating what we saw so far in the videos, where it just talks about how Nigeria is positioning themselves with this, with this new initiative, this new oil initiative in Nigeria, where it says, as of January 2024, Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, it says, estimated that Nigeria's proven natural gas reserves stood at 209.26 trillion cubic feet, or 209.26 trillion cubic feet, which is over 2.6% of the world's total reserves. This makes Nigeria the 9th largest natural gas reserve in the world and the largest in Africa. They are the largest natural reserve in Africa. Again, Trump coming after Nigeria is not just a random thing, especially after Iran pushed the oil button to stop the conflict over in the Middle East. And so the defense for that is to diversify your oil income. And to do that, you have to find other sources of oil. Remember that list I showed you earlier? This is the list of the largest oil reserves in the world. We have Venezuela. And of course, Trump's getting ready to start a war with Venezuela. We have Iran, of course, trying to start a war with Iran, but we can't do that yet because Iran's pressing that oil button. And then we have Nigeria down here, but because Nigeria is increasing their oil capacity, they're going to leapfrog some of these people on this list, basically is what's going to happen. They're going to move up higher on this list, basically ringing the dinner bell for the oil wolves, in my opinion. All right, so we got that. And let me see here, fam. I got another thing I just want to show you real quick. I know we're already over an hour, but let me show you this couple of these clips really quick, family. That is one of the things I wanted to show you, family, and that is that the stuff that's happening over in Nigeria. Of course, we know that we suspect that a lot of that is driven because of the oil. And I forgot who put the comment in the comment section, but he talked about how it's due to the oil, and it's also due to them being Israelites, right? Due to the oil and them also being Israelites. So to that end, now we know that Israel was situated over in Africa along this territory right here. And let me see, I don't think I have I didn't put it in there. Yeah, you see where it says Negro land? So Negro land / also called Soudan, also called Lam Negritian. This is where the Israelites were located in this territory that goes right across the middle of Africa. And this is what this brother is talking about here. He's also going to show you that the Israelites are across that belt in Africa.
Et Sophonie disait que au-delà du fleuve de l'Éthiopie, mes adorateurs, mes dispersés m'apporteront des offrandes.
The book of Zephaniah says, "From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my worshippers, the daughter of my dispersed ones, shall bring my offering."
Donc, Ésaïe aussi au chapitre 18, au verset 7.
Isaiah as well in chapter 18, verse 7.
Il nous annonce la même chose que, au-delà de l'Éthiopie, les dispersés de l'Éternel apporteront à Sion les offrandes.
He tells us the same thing that Zephaniah says. He says, "In that time a present will be brought to the Lord."
Donc ces deux prophètes ont annoncé la présence des Juifs qui étaient partis en Afrique et qu'ils allaient être localisés au-delà de l'Éthiopie.
So both prophets announced the departure of Jews that were going to settle themselves in Israel, and their place would be beyond Ethiopia.
Donc nous avons essayé maintenant d'analyser ces phénomènes pour voir si réellement ces Juifs sont en Afrique.
So we try to analyze this phenomenon in order to see if really, truly, these Jews settled in Africa.
Voilà là où ils étaient partis par rapport à la prophétie.
This is where they went according to the prophecy.
Donc le plus grand centre religieux était Shiona, donc c'était le Sion de l'époque.
So the biggest religious center was Shona, as you can see, in other words, Zion.
Et dans la carte médiévale, on voit déjà qu'à l'époque médiévale, il y avait déjà le mot Juda dans les cartes géographiques.
In the medieval period, you can see by looking at a medieval map that they already had a place, they had already mapped out places known as Bayuda on their maps.
Vous pouvez voir à cet endroit-là le vrai mot Juda.
So you can see from the map here the word Judah.
Et en grand, vous pouvez voir la courbe du Nil et là où se trouvait Juda.
On the map you can also see where the Nile goes and the place called Judah.
Alors, tous ces Juifs, ce sont ceux qui ont formé tous ces pays que vous voyez là. Donc, vous allez voir comment, voyez comment la flèche nous indique ces endroits. Donc, à partir du Tchad, Niger, le Mali, le Sénégal, et ça descend, la Golfe de Guinée, l'Afrique du Sud, ça remonte, ça prend le Madagascar, ça remonte encore, et ça prend les Comores jusqu'au Soudan.
So all these Jews are the people that formed these countries that you can see on this map here. You can see where the map is showing us.
So yeah, he goes on for a little bit, family.
Qui ont amené ces noms et les ont implantés là où ils avaient Israël, jusqu'au centre de l'Afrique.
You will also notice the names that were taken from Israel and given to different places all the way down.
Vous allez voir Yemena, Djamena, Gemena au Congo.
You will see Yemena, Djamena, Gemena in the Congo area.
Vous allez voir Dar es Salaam.
You will see Dar es Salaam
vers le Yémen et Dar es Salaam aussi vers l'est de l'Afrique.
In the Yemen area.
Et ceci nous montre les grandes migrations qui ont amené ces noms et les ont implantés là où ils avaient occupé.
This shows the huge immigration of people coming down southwards and coming down deeper into Africa.
À l'intérieur, vous allez voir par exemple le mot Congo.
And at the center, you will see the name Congo.
Congo est parti du Mali.
Congo originated in Mali.
Congo, Nigeria.
Congo, Nigeria.
Congo au Cameroun.
And Congo in Cameroon.
Congo qui est devenu le Congo Brazzaville.
And Congo that became Congo Brazzaville.
Et Congo qui en Angola.
And Congo in Angola.
Congo qui est devenu Congo le RDC.
And Congo which has become the Republic Democratic of Congo.
All right, so yeah, so it goes on for a while, but just let you know, family, that it does. Israelites were in various places in Africa, especially early on during the time of Negro Land. It was a belt that literally went from the west coast of Africa all the way to the east coast. All the way from Senegal on the west coast, all the way to Sudan on the east coast. And so I heard I saw somebody put in the chat about how they're going against the Israelites in Africa, and that's truth. That's true. So part of this, the other reason, for that violence that you see in Nigeria, in my opinion, is because those people are Israelites. They might be Muslims, they might be Christians, they might be animalists, they might be, trying to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. But in either way, they're going against these people. And just to give you one last video to this point, let me show you what's going over in the Sudan. And this is similar to what's going on in the Congo when you talk about, the unaliving of the Christians and the Muslims.
Do you know what's happening in Sudan? Sudan? Do you know?
Where is?
I know it's complicated, right? It's very complex, but I'm going to try to break it down for you. One of the worst genocide is happening in Sudan, and the world is watching. And you haven't heard about this, but many black people are being unalived like goats and martins in Sudan. Lots of people are being unalived, and we need to talk about this very quickly. Basically, the Sudanese government has accused UAE of sponsoring Gino in their country. They're saying they are the reason why people are being unalived, because they are giving weapons to people that are unaliving black people. And guess what the ICJ has done? The ICJ say the UAE is not under their jurisdiction because they never signed the 1948 Convention against Gino. This is crazy stuff. You need to find out about this. Before we start, can I ask you to do this? Okay, let's do this, please. It costs you nothing. We feel appreciated. It's done. Great stuff. Let's find out about this. We are in Sudan. Sudan is right here. Sudan used to be the biggest country in Africa, but no more. It's now two different countries. There's Northern Sudan and Southern Sudan.
Yep. So he said Sudan used to be the biggest country in Africa.
The Northern Sudan is run by Arab-looking Africans,
and Sudan, pointed this out in previous videos as well as on that video that I just played. So Udan is, those are two Hebrew words. So, foreigners. Udan is another word for Judah. So Udan, which you can take to be the foreigners of Judah, or as the other gentleman said, is the people of Judah, or the people of the land of Judah, I think is what he interpreted it as. But either way, it refers to the tribe of Judah. The word, so Udan.
Southern Sudan is run by black people. Let's get back in time so we can understand. How did they fall out? What happened? Sudan got its independence in 1956 from the British and Egypt. Basically, Sudan has a population of Arabs in the north, Muslims, and in the southern is occupied by black people who are mostly Christian and sometimes animist and African believers. Now, after many years, there used to be people fighting against the government, people angry, unhappy. Sudan started seeing insurgencies and rebellions. What was the people complaining about? They were complaining about service delivery. They were mostly black people saying we are not being looked after. Basically, after independence, the government was run by Arabs, big institution by Arabs, hospitals, and every other thing. So in other words, the Sudanese government was only looking after the Arab-looking people in Sudan and not the black people. So the black people in Sudan felt neglected and abandoned. Therefore, they started claiming, saying, you need to look after us, or else we want to be separated, autonomous state. We want to run ourselves. Now, obviously, the Arabs didn't like that. I mean, a bunch of black people trying to act weird. Let's shut them up. And that's exactly what they did. So many groups of army by Arabs started shutting down the black people, and
they started committing another genocide in the Sudan.
Beating them and unaliving them bad. So since 1956, we've seen a lot of rebels fighting for the very same cause, acting in a way that is very uniform. Their claim is you're not looking after us. Okay, you're basically taking care of Arab-looking people. You refuse to look after black people. Amongst the people that were beating and unaliving black people was a group named the Janjaweed. They were some of the most ruthless, dangerous people ever. They unalive as much black people without looking at color, age, gender, or anything. They basically did not just attack people with arms, they also attack villages with specific black people, and they will unalive all of them. They will rape women and finish children. Now, I'm sure you heard the story about Darfur. This happened between 2003 and 2010. It was mayhem. A lot of people lost their lives. People talk about 400,000 people lost their life, but other editions talk about millions of people. Obviously, you know, when they talk about a lesser number, you know which number is more accurate. Black people were tired, angry, sad in Sudan.
Yeah, but you get it, family. A lot of turmoil over in those areas, and these are areas where we're in the belt of Negro land. These are areas where, on the old maps, they were populated with Israelites. So, you know, in our mind, it's like there's no coincidence that these are the areas where you see chaos, where you see a large unaliving of the people. You know, like this brother saying, he's saying that, you know, the Arabs came down, and it was the Arabs that started unaliving, you know, doing genocide against the black population. So there you go. You know, Esau against Jacob all over again. But in any case, family, like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. One of the things like I said, the purpose of this video was, one, I wanted to show you the overarching, you know, reason why Trump just seemingly out of the blue, you know, and Ted Cruz and friends started talking about Nigeria. I just want to let you know that it just didn't happen, right? A couple of things happened. One is, of course, when Israel and Iran war stopped. That a war stopped because Iran pushed that oil button. And of course, in order for Israel to start the war back with Iran, they have to solve that oil button. In other words, they have to have additional oil resources for the U.S. And this is why, when we're looking at our list, in order to do that, you got to find oil-rich companies or countries. And here's the list that we were showing before. Venezuela is number one on that list. And of course, the U.S. has a problem with Venezuela, starting a war with Venezuela. And of course, Iran is on there, but also Nigeria is on there. But because Nigeria is in the process of creating the largest oil refinery in the world, you know, it's argumentative. They're going to increase their position on this list. And like I said earlier, basically they rang the dinner bell. They rang the dinner bell during a time where seemingly, you know, the oil wolves are looking for more oil resources. And, you know, I believe that's why Nigeria is being focused upon, right? So anyway, just wanted to show you that, family. And then, of course, also show you that, you know, these areas where they are targeting are places where Israelites lived and still live today. Whether you're talking about the Niger Delta region, or if you're talking about the Sudan is rich in gold, right? They are rich in gold. So there's no, you know, coincidence that they are over there in Sudan trying to cause turmoil and trying to unalive the Israelites over there as well. So, all right, kept you long enough, family. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you're able to see that this is not a coincidence at all, and that you can fully expect you know, these countries to follow through with their wars against Venezuela. And unfortunately, Nigeria is on the radar, you know, because they do have that oil, and somehow, some way they're trying to get their hands on it. But that's it, family. So hopefully I didn't keep you up too late. And again, thanks for everyone for tuning in. And most high willing, we will be back on sooner rather than later. Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe the day after tomorrow. All right. Well, love your family. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace and blessings and shalom.
Tearing down idols and we cutting down posts. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. Throwing out crystals, we don't need these stones. And we ain't no gods, that's a job for y'all. I'll praise to the Most High. I'll praise to the Most High, Yahuwah. I'll praise to the Most High. I'll praise to the Yah Israel. Tearing down idols, we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals, yeah. We don't need these stones. We ain't no gods, that's a job for Yah. Yeah. Oh. All praise. Who we say? All praise. Hey, all praise. Sing it again. All praise. Let's lift up a praise to Yah, yeah. All praise. We won't go the way of the pagan. We don't need no potions or sages. We won't let your word be forsaken. Even if we're hated,
We won't go the way of the sages.
we don't need no
We don't need no potions or sages.
we won't let your
We
word.
won't let your word be
No,
forsaken.
even
Even if we're
we won't go the way. We don't need no potions or sages. We won't let your word be forsaken. Even if we're tearing down idols and we cutting down poles. We're calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals, we don't need these stones. And we ain't no gods, that's a job for Yah. Everybody help me say all praise.